The Boy Who Cried Wolf. In the tiny fishing village of Port Blossom, perched on the highest cliff, was a tall stone watchtower. And in that watchtower was a boy named Finn. It was his job to watch the waves and ring the great brass bell if danger ever neared the shore. But the sea was often calm, and the days were often long. One afternoon, a mischievous thought wiggled into Finn's mind. "I wonder what would happen," he whispered to a seagull on the windowsill, and with a grin, he pulled the thick rope. Clang-a-lang-a-lang. Down below, fisherfolk dropped their nets, and merchants left their stalls. They all rushed to the shore, their faces full of worry. Ilara, the old harbor master with eyes the color of the deep sea, looked up at the tower. "What is it, Finn? A storm?" Finn just laughed from the window. "Fooled you," he shouted. The villagers grumbled and went back to their work. Ilara stayed. "The bell is not a toy, Finn," she said, her voice stern but kind. "Trust is a precious thing. Don't cast it away." But Finn didn't listen. A week later, he did it again, this time shouting about a giant wave. Once more, the villagers ran. Once more, there was nothing but calm water. This time, they were angry. "We won't be fooled again," they declared. Then came a misty morning. The sea was as still as glass. As Finn scanned the horizon, he saw something that made his heart leap into his throat. A shadow moved beneath the water, and then, slowly, a colossal, swirling tentacle rose from the deep. It was the great kraken of the cove. He grabbed the rope and rang the bell with all his might. "Clang, clang, clang," he screamed. "The kraken! It's real! Help the fishing boats!" But down in the village, no one ran. They just shook their heads. "It's only Finn playing his games," they muttered. Tears of panic filled Finn's eyes. They didn't believe him. The kraken was getting closer to the fishing boats. He had to do something. He looked around the small room and spotted an old signal lantern and a small foghorn. He lit the lantern and began flashing it towards the boats, the universal signal for danger. On the lead boat, a fisherman saw the frantic light. He knew that signal. He trusted his eyes, if not his ears. "Turn the boat about. Now," he yelled. Just as the lead boat turned, a giant tentacle crashed down where it had been moments before. The splash was enormous, sending a wave surging towards the shore. The fishermen on the boat held on tight, their faces pale with shock. On the shore, the villagers gasped. The monstrous tentacle was real. They finally understood the danger. "To the boats!" cried Ilara, her voice cutting through the fear. "We must help them. Bang on anything you can find." Finn watched from his tower, his heart pounding. He saw the villagers scrambling into small rowboats, armed with oars and loud horns. They weren't running away. They were rowing out to help, creating a noisy distraction. He remembered the foghorn. He took a deep breath and blew with all his might. A deep, resonant BWWOOONK echoed across the water, adding to the villagers' commotion. He blew it again and again, a steady, deep sound in the misty air. The great kraken, confused by the flashing light from above and the racket from below, hesitated. It thrashed one more tentacle in frustration, and then, with a final gurgle, it sank back into the misty depths. Slowly, the fishing boats, followed by the small rowboats, made their way back to the harbor as the mist began to lift. The sea was calm once more, the only evidence of the monster, the pounding of their hearts. That evening, the village was quiet. Finn came down from the tower, expecting angry shouts. Instead, the fisherman, whose boat was nearly crushed, walked over. He didn't say a word, but he placed a hand on Finn's shoulder and gave a solemn, grateful nod. The next day, Finn was back in the watchtower. The work no longer felt boring. He polished the old signal lantern until it gleamed, and he practiced tying the knots for the bell rope. He watched the waves with a new sense of purpose. Weeks later, the sky turned a bruised purple. A real storm was brewing on the horizon. Finn took a steadying breath and rang the bell, not wildly, but with a clear, rhythmic peal that was the true signal for a coming squall. Down below, the villagers heard the bell. They looked at the stormy sky, then at each other. Without a word of doubt, they began securing their boats and helping merchants tie down their stalls. They trusted the sound. From his high window, Finn watched them work together. Elara looked up, and her stern face softened into a small, proud smile. Finn smiled back, his heart full. He knew that trust, once broken, could be rebuilt, stronger and more precious than ever before.
Subscribe to the channel and like the bell icon. Thanks for watching LevelUp Talks production. See you soon again!